Hey YouTube, Josh here for Roll with the Punches. So, this was originally going to be a channel update video, and I now find myself wishing to discuss inspiration. The reason why this topic is more interesting to me currently is because I've got a lot of projects in the works that I'm drawing very heavily upon real-world cultures and events for. I've been doing a lot of research into several aspects of different cultures, religions, and events of the past to provide, while not an identical background, an analogous and authentic feeling background for a different setting. So the reason why I ask about this is because I want to find out how much do real-world cultures and events and beliefs influence you, your games, your settings, or your characters. So I find that I very heavily influence my settings and characters on real-world belief structures, cultures, and events. The best example of which is the setting that I'm currently working on, which is sort of an analogous fantastic, well, science fantasy actually, setting that borrows very heavily from the cultural tenets of pre-Sengoku Jidai Japan. Actually, it's a setting meant to represent a culture that is sort of on the cusp of civil war, and so I've been looking very heavily into, or researching very heavily into the events that led up to the Sengoku Jidai period. Also the cultural aspects that pervaded Japan at that time, the state in which Bushido was in, the history of Shinto, Buddhism, and Confucianism, and how the three sort of formed a tripod-like support structure for the imperial family and the government of Japan at that time, and how all of that sort of informed and led to this situation of the Sengoku Jidai period. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Sengoku Jidai period is, it's the period of warring states. It's quite commonly referred to in lots of different movies, video games. It's a very popular sort of, when dealing with samurai and feudal Japan, it's a very popular time frame in which to base settings. It's when you get a lot of the more widely known, samurai legends such as Oda Nobunaga and Date Masamune. A lot of those figures existed during that period of time. Takeda Shingen, another really big one. So, but without getting into too many details of exactly what the Sengoku Jidai period is, the main question I want to posit to you guys is how much do cultures, real-world cultures, and thoughts and beliefs influence, I guess mostly your settings is the thing that I'm most interested in. I feel like if a setting is influenced heavily by it, then of course characters within the setting are probably going to be heavily influenced by it as well. But when you go about world building, or you go about, creating a setting, how much do those influence you? And not just on the superficial level, like, oh, this kingdom, they all wear lacquered, bamboo armor and carry curved swords, and so they're like samurai. I'm sorry I keep coming up with like samurai references, but I've just been doing so much research, it's hard for me to pull my head out of that world right now. But another good example would be, if you base a culture off of Native Americans, let's say, well, is it actually, are you just taking the surface level? Okay, so you have a tribal culture that is somewhat shamanistic, worships animal spirits, things of that nature, or do you really dig? And how far is too far to dig? I guess is a question. How far do you think is too far? How much reality should inform your fantasy or your sci-fi? I guess is really my question. So yeah, let me know how you guys feel about it. What are some real world influences that you've taken and implemented into your settings? And tell me about it, whether it's on the superficial, just for for looks and just base feel, or whether you really wanted to pervade people, or you really wanted to make people feel steeped in that type of society. Maybe not an identical, but like I said, an analogous society. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and some of your examples of things that you've done with that in the past. And if you feel like the real world should not influence your fantasy at all, then feel free to put that as well. You can leave any comments or questions down in the description below, or you can hit me up on Facebook. A lot of you guys know me from there, the Tabletop RPG One Shot group. But yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts and feelings. So thank you guys. I have been Joshua. This has been Roll with the Punches. You have been beautiful. I hope you have a good night.